Hi, this is Jeff Richards, Columbus, Ohio. You're listening to Barbecue Central.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike your match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Welcome to the really big Barbecue Central show. This is a show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling, continually originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard. If you want to jump in on the show tonight, we got a lot of great guests. We got a lot of topics to cover. I'm happy to have you via the email or the phone call.
You can get in touch with the show by calling 216-220-0966. Email Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. On the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Everything else you want to find out about the show can be found out at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening this evening. It is the second Tuesday of the month, and you know that's going to bring a visit from the guy that's created the most heavily trafficked barbecue and grilling website to date. You can find that at AmazingRibs.com. And for the first time in 2020, we will be rejoined by Meathead, a man who only needs to go by one name, Meathead. Then we will move to the second hour. And in the second hour, we will potentially have a second-time guest. We will for sure have a one-time or a first-time guest. The first-time guest is in that first interview segment in the second hour. She is the current brand manager at Smithfield Pork. You would recall last year Emily Detweiler had stepped away, and this lady has taken over as brand manager. Her name is Laura Pall, and we will be unveiling the 2020 Smithfield Grant recipient winners. Grant program recipients? There's got to be a better way to say that. Let's try it again. We'll be unveiling and revealing the 2020 Grant Program recipients. There we go. Fabulous. Also, a little background on Laura, since she'll be first time on the show, where she's currently stationed, love of live fire. You know, oftentimes I wonder with people in this kind of a position, are they even lovers of live fire? So we'll see what it's all about. I mean, I don't think you have to be a lover of live fire to be a great marketer. I don't think you have to be anything in particular to be a great marketer. You just have to have that wit, wisdom, ability to want to work, stand out, try new things, and realize what isn't working quickly and what is working and continue to do that a little bit more. So we'll talk to Laura about all that stuff. And then helping me, potentially, close out the show in the bullpen segment, and it is rapidly becoming known as. Second timer to the show, the creator of Veterans Q barbecue sauces and rubs, Steve Lulofs, might be joining me, and I am hedging bets firmly, and I typically don't like to do that. But he is currently on the bird heading from Chicago to New York City. I think maybe it was Washington, D.C., one of those two. Maybe it was neither of those. Not Cleveland, I can guarantee that. And when he lands or wheels down time, hopefully pulling up to the gate. I mean, what is going on here? Do I want to take a phone call right off the bat? Well, I was going to take a phone call, and then they dropped out. Steve may or Steve may or may not be available. I'm thinking west side to east or a West Coast flight going east. You get the tailwind, lots of ability because it is windy outside too, so that means winds aloft are also going to be whipping at a pretty good rate. So if you get up there good enough, tailwinds will show that you could find a prevailing trip quickly. So we'll see how it goes. Steve Lulof's potentially joining us to talk about NBBQA. All right, well, let's see how this goes. You're on the air. Go ahead.
You're not allowed back anymore.
Wonderful. I think that was one of those services. Prank phone call services. Know this, I'm not allowed back anymore. We got to do better than that with the phone calls, right? Somebody could prank me in person better than that. Don't forget, you can follow me socially if you like it at BBQ Central Show, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok /BBQ Central Show, Facebook. And there you have it. So where do we start as we look back on last week? Lots of reaction to that show. Malcolm Reed continues to be the best ad in regular guests in years. Everyone loves him. Also, it seems to be a surprise to many of you that he comes on this show of his own free will because he's such a YouTube star. Give me a break. I've been doing this a long time. He's happy to come on and be a regular. Let's be honest, it's a freaking honor for him. So get off me. Next. And to answer Sam the Cooking Guy's question from last week, as he just kind of threw it out there as we were concluding our conversation. And I quote, is our conversation not food related enough where we're boring your audience with our banter? I did not hit. What happened is I didn't hit the mute button. Back. God, I hate that. The answer, of course, is a resounding no. We are not bored. In fact, I got a number of emails and phone calls from people that said last week's segments were the best to date. If you aren't aware, Sam's first appearance on this show, believe it or not, was February 7th, 2012, and 2019 started his recurring role on the show, but we have had a number of visits in between now and then. And many of you think last week's is the current pinnacle of conversations that we've had so far over now our 8-year relationship. So that's good to hear. Lastly, the KCUR report on the state of the KCBS has maybe made it to another news cycle. I will call Tuesday the beginning of a new news cycle for us. Maybe it's died off in the last 36 hours. One of the authors took on many of the members, KCBS members, her name is Peggy Lowe, questioning their reasons for posting it, calling it one-sided. And according to that author or writer, there were many people in person. I'm sorry, there was a in-person meeting scheduled with Emily Detweiler later last week, but that ended up getting canceled by KCBS, saying that they, quote, having a meeting wasn't going to be constructive at that time, close quote. Now, look, that's certainly KCBS's prerogative to take or not take meetings as they see fit. There were a number of people that thought, hey, if the news people are calling, you have to pick up that phone. You have to answer questions, or you have to go to print, or something along those lines. But it is absolutely up to KCBS and the board and the CEO on how they want to address things. There is a huge post on the KCBS website, if it hasn't been taken down yet, that was started by Peggy Lowe in an effort to keep the flow of information transparent. There was quite a bit of back and forth, and of course, speculation going on in the thread. Here's what I can tell you. There is a large amount of distrust from the members as it relates to Randall Bowman, Mike Peters, and Arlie Bragg and what they did in their time on the board. There also seems to be quite a bit of positive support for the current KCBS board and the CEO and their ability to, A, stop the bleeding, and B, eventually get the organization headed in the right direction, and that seems to be sooner or later. And that's what I can tell you. As I read through it, as I start to discern names and see who's being brought up over and over again, it's those three guys. It was a weird post by the writer to go on the KCBS website. You had to know there was going to be some backlash. There could be blind support on either side. And she was ready to take on all takers. I mean, I don't know if that's normal practice for writers to get engaged, if you will, and I'm saying that in a nice way, to the KCBS membership. Here's one thing that I know. As I've read KCBS posts these many years, they are a fervent bunch. And if they think you're coming after them, they in turn will come back after you right or 3-4 times harder. So Peggy might want to think about where she's posting stuff to minimize her damage. It was a weird post, and there was quite a bit of savage chatting going on there, as Smokin' Joe's Barbecue Pit said. Meathead coming up out of the break. I'll talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers. Sterling Ball, by the way, was 2 weeks ago, or this past weekend. Is that right? 2 weeks ago? Sterling Ball taking down the 40th Grand Championship of his career. Also, we say happy birthday to pitmaster of Big Papa Smokers, Sterling Ball. Day late. Big Papa's is the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies. Get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers has been pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself, from the award-winning rubs and sauces to the American-made grills and smokers. Big Papa Smokers has everything you need to become a better outdoor cook. They have 13 perfectly balanced flavors of rubs and seasonings. Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, Desert Gold, Double Secret Steak Rub, Little Louie's Seasoned Salt, all of my favorites, and there's plenty more after that. If you're cooking to impress the judges, if you're grilling to impress your family, Big Papa Smokers award-winning rubs deliver on both fronts. If you're looking for something a little bit more original, go ahead and buy some Simply Marvelous barbecue rubs to go along with your Big Papas. And now you're operating with the West Coast offense. Over the past few years, West Coast offense cornering the market on competitive barbecue, but I don't need to tell you that. You know all about it. They also own Granny's barbecue sauce, that being Big Papa Smoker. So if you're looking for something a little bit off the beaten path, or you're looking to change it up a little bit, Granny's is something you want to try. It's delicious. Also, they have the smokers and the grills, if you want. They got the Mac 2-Star General Pellet Grill. They're the exclusive Mac dealer online. Nobody else does that. Not a fan of pellet smokers? Old Hickory Ace BP. It's a charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. In fact, he trusts it so much it's the only charcoal smoker on his competition trailer. Not sure of what grill you need? Hey, you can't go wrong with anything they have listed on the website. If you have any questions, you call them. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or you shop the website at BigPapaSmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA Smokers.com. Meathead, AmazingRibs.com. Out of the break. Stick around. Be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And this portion of the show being brought to you by Butcher's Barbecue. That's right, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, seasonings, barbecue sauces, grilling oils. All of Butcher Barbecue products have been tested on the competition circuit, as well as in backyards worldwide. Be the pitmaster of your neighborhood. Visit butcherbbq.com to stock up right now. Always trust your butcher. Of course, it is the second Tuesday of the month, and you know what that means. A visit from the creator of AmazingRibs.com. That, of course, being Meathead. Hey, Meathead.
And here's a toast to you.
Happy New Year. That's what we
Hey,
say.
Centralites.
How about that?
Happy New Year to everybody. Happy 2020. May we all make it through in good condition.
That's right. And we're starting out very well so far. And 2 weeks in.
Listen to you.
Yeah.
Hey, people don't believe Malcolm Reed is showing up on your show for free.
Hey, man,
You mean-
know, he's a big star, Meathead. Can you believe it?
No, you're a big star. But aren't you paying him as much as you're paying me?
Absolutely.
The same exact amount, isn't it?
I could take the, well, I mean, if we're being honest, Meathead, we take what I'm paying Malcolm, double it, and that's what I'm paying Meathead. So,
as I remember high school math, 2 times 0 is still 0.
that's right. Still zero. Still zero.
Let's be honest here. It's fun to talk to you. It's an honor, and it's good business. It's good because you reach a broad audience and you tell people about my website, and I'm sure Malcolm sees it the same way.
Of course.
It's fun to talk to you. You always have your own unique slant on things, like the KCBS business. I'm so glad you've been talking about it, because your readers, or your listeners, I should say. I have readers, you have listeners.
That's right.
Your listeners should know that you and I have talked offline a couple of times about it, because I don't compete and I don't hang out in the KCBS circles a lot. I know a lot of competitive cooks. I know a lot about the system. I have judged. I don't judge much anymore. And I love KCBS, and I love Carolyn Wells, and I respect most of the people I've met there, Candy Weaver, the president, and I just want to see them do well. And this whole silly business, and I gotta confess right up front here, I saw the KCUR radio show broadcast that somebody had sent me. And it looked, like it was well done. And I retweeted it. And I immediately not immediately, the next day I took it down after I realized that it was incomplete, poorly reported, one side of the story. You got me straight on it. If people want to know what the story is, you're the one to go to. I'm just surprised that Emily and the rest of the team at KCBS haven't just come out more forward. But I don't want to dip my nose into that business. You're the expert on the subject, and I just think Emily and her team are going to get this whole thing on the rails and moving forward. And it's a darn shame that this little scandal has tainted it.
Meathead, let me ask you, because you are and have been a journalist for any number of decades, and you've written for some of the biggest.
I was actually trained as a journalist. I did my bachelor's in journalism at the University of Florida, which is a fine journalism school, and I have worked as a reporter for the Washington Post and New York Times.
Right.
So my nose was twitching when this story broke.
How does one, just from a high level, because a lot of us are not reporters here, we didn't go to journalism school, so as you see a KCUR piece, I'm led to believe that you buy the validity of a story, not necessarily because it's KCUR, but you see the letters NPR on it. So there's a national thought that they are going to do the right investigative journalism. They're going to make sure they're confirming and not just, recklessly doing stories. I don't know if we would call it reckless, but it certainly wasn't investigated far enough. And then they make posts on KCBS website to say, oh, hey, we're showing, in the effort of transparency, we tried to make a meeting, but it was canceled. And now you have given the opportunity for KCBS members to start barking back on social media. And we all know what kind of a storm social media can get whipped up in if given the right circumstances. And then she starts going back after some of the members. I mean, it just seemed like it was really odd journalism at best.
I haven't seen the back and forth sniping. You mentioned somebody named Peggy. I know nothing about this. I haven't seen it yet. Maybe you can send me some links, or some of the others can. I'd be interested to follow it. Maybe I don't need to or have the time. I run into this all the time, and this is, I think, the very first time, I'm going to be honest, where my BS meter failed me. I have a really high sensitive BS meter, and this is what you learn in journalism school. And also, anybody who knows me knows I have an interest in science. And reporters and scientists approach questions in a very similar way. And the first question we ask always is, how do you know this to be true? Mm-hmm. How do you know this to be true? What is your source? What is your information? What is the background? And there are sources that you should come to trust more often than others. And there are places you can go to check your facts. And, I am constantly receiving sheer BS, often on politics and other things. And it just fails the smell test instantly. I did not put this to the proper smell test when I retweeted it because it came from a trusted news source. Now, I know, by the way, I feel that NPR is a trusted news source.
Nationally.
But and it sounds like you do as well, and I think many others do. But I have seen that many people out there do not. Many think it is a politically biased, slanted, and not trustworthy source, and they're entitled to that opinion. As a journalist who has learned how journalism is done properly, it's my opinion that generally NPR does it. But this was a local affiliate of NPR and local reporters. And part of the problem is, and I promised to keep my nose out of this, is they did go to KCBS and ask for comment, and they declined. And you mentioned in your rant earlier that people often say when a reporter calls, you answer. That's my opinion. In fact, you and I discussed this. When NPR or KCUR, the local affiliate, calls, you take that call. You got to take that call. You got to answer, even if you don't like the idea that they're asking you these questions. You have to answer those questions. I mean, when Mike Wallace calls, you got to take it. It used to be a running joke around my office. If Mike Wallace calls, Mr. Goldwyn has jumped off the cliff. But I once took a call from David Letterman, God help me, and that was pretty funny. But whatever. The story was basically slanted, improperly reported, and did not have all the facts. And it's just too bad. And it's just got to go under the bridge, and we've just got to go forward with it. But I'm really pleased that you got the true story to me, and you've been apparently getting it out to your readers. Because I know when we talked about it, you said you really didn't want to get in the middle of it. It sounds like you have.
No, I haven't gotten in the middle of anything. I've merely pointed out a few items that I've seen or that I know to be true. Now, let me ask another high-level question here real quick. Yeah. You had mentioned political and news being tied together. Is there a point now, or have we crossed a threshold going forward? And I would just say, from the previous election and from any news source that you don't like, you can now call fake news, or it's left, or it's right. Will we ever regain a journalistic view where it's just reporting and not reporting to serve one's political bias or agenda on anything in particular? Or are we past that and it's always going to be political based if you don't agree?
Greg, that's such a good question. I mean, that is a question way beyond our scope in barbecue.
Yes.
And I mean, it's the kind of question that you expect to hear on 60 Minutes or something like that. And it's a powerful question, because we have always thought of journalism as the fourth estate. We have always felt that newspapers, reporters are the ones who go to the State House, sniff out the crooks, report on the untoward behavior, who fact check our politicians. And in recent years, we have seen their work diminished in the public eye by the people whom they often criticize, which is reasonable. I mean, people take sides, fairly or unfairly. I mean, there's a level of quality. I watch local news on TV, and it just makes me shudder. Some of these local talking heads who seem to be picked because of their hairstyle are not reporters, are not good journalists. Yeah. Your blue hair, by the way.
Lack of hairstyle.
Yeah. There's a quality of reporting in journalism. You learn the very first thing in journalism school is who, what, when, where, why, how. Who, what, when, where, why, how. Answer those basic questions, and then you have to ask, how do you know this to be true? And a good journalist will ask a question that they know the answer to, such as, Greg, you think it's a good idea for me to cook my my brisket at 500?
No.
I know the answer to that question. And if you say yes, then I know you're full of shit and you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, that's classic journalism. That's classic procedure. You ask questions that you know the answers to see if the other party knows the answers to them. I mean, the whole process of interviewing, there's technique. I mean, there are great interviewers in this world. Mike Wallace was one. Studs Terkel was one. There were great interviewers who knew how to draw out well, I mean, even Barbara Walters, to draw out the insides, and then there are others who don't. And so going hand in hand with the politicians and others who claim everything is fake news, there are people who are just poor quality reporters who just don't do a good job. Who after the politician got done with his speech, he stalked off the podium in a huff. Now wait a minute, that's a heavily one might report after he was done delivering his speech, he marched proudly off the podium. So the idea that a lot of journalists have that that they can be unbiased is flawed from the beginning. And this is something that I was taught in journalism school, is you have to be unbiased. You can't be unbiased. You have your religion, you have your gender, you have your political preferences, and so you have to try to put them aside. But you also have to come to grips with the fact that you can't put them aside. Here's a good example. We are told that when we judge at KCBS, that we are to taste each of the 6 or 7 or 8 samples in front of us independently and not let the taste of one influence the taste of the other. In other words, to be unbiased.
Right.
You cannot be unbiased when creating a judgment. Judging is by definition subjective. It's not objective.
Right.
And so judging barbecue is a purely subjective procedure. So the pretense that you are objective is fallacious from the beginning. The pretense that a journalist is objective is fallacious from the beginning. So there's just all kinds of deep layered issues here. I'm a barbecue guy. I did happen to train in journalism. I did work for major newspapers, but I'm an authority. I'm just a minor. I'm not an authority. I'm not a journalist. I just play one on the internet.
Meathead can be found at AmazingRibs.com, and I apologize for diverging like that. But
oh, God, we were off on a
good
topic.
Stuff. Way off the rails. Now,
way off the rails. And by the way, as long as we're off the rails,
yep.
I always listen to your intros and your rants and stuff, and you're so good at that. But I gotta give a plug to a couple of your advertisers because I love. Oh well, yeah, I know. Sterling Ball, Big Papa Smokers. There are very few people who know the barbecue world as well as Sterling. Indeed. And I talked to him about this business as well as you, because he's a KCBS competitor and winner of many competitions. He gave me a great deal of insight, a lot of fun to talk to. And I was just recently, I went to Florida on vacation, and I returned to my alma mater, the University of Florida. I haven't been there in 40 years maybe. And I went to a Gators game and had a ball. Some people I met on Twitter invited me to their tailgate party. Oh. God, did they do it up great. There were like 10 families. They had a bar. They have the same place. That was just fantastic. They had homemade sausages. What a great party we had. And then we walked to the game, and it was a grand old time. And that night, the night before the game, I went out to dinner and went to a place I'd never heard of before called BJ's. And BJ's is a restaurant chain. Yep. And son of a gun, on the menu, they're serving pork chops seasoned with Big Papa Smokers. I forget the name of his rub.
Sweet Money rub.
Sweet Money's, yep. Sweet Honey, whatever. I don't know. I don't know the names of his products. I've tried them. They're very good.
Oh, very good.
But the idea that there I was in this restaurant, long way from home, and they're serving Big Papa, and his stuff was all over the menu.
Yes.
So, I mean, the guy's got chops. He's got cred. People who are looking for rubs would do worse than and try them. The other one is Butcher's Blend, and he's another guy who's just really making great products. So here I am plugging you and your advertisers, but you got good advertisers. I love Butcher's Blend product and the people behind it. So
we certainly appreciate the endorsement from Meathead at AmazingRibs.com, no doubt about it. Now, quick review, Meathead, being a barbecue pontificator. I don't know if you knew you were doing that or not. But months ago, you let Traeger have it with both barrels as it related to their tastes like gas internet commercial. However,
we talked about it on this channel.
Yes, we did. And you admonished them on a number of fronts. Charbroil, however, also took them to task recently, and they actually won their claim with the NAD, which is the National Advertising Division, telling Traeger to not use those commercials going forward anymore because no amount of humor, which is what they were arguing on their side, will ever override their false claim that it tastes like gas. Did you see that coming?
Oh, I didn't see the NAD coming. First of all, the NAD doesn't have any legal weight. I think they're a division of the Better Business Bureau, which I have some issues with also. But it's a trade association with an ethical standard, and basically they have judges, and they judged and declared the Traeger ads to be false and misleading, as Charbroil claimed them to be, and as you and I discussed.
Right.
I found them frustrating. Just for people who are not clear on the background, Traeger had a series of funny ads. They were attempting to be humorous, and just because you attempt to be humorous doesn't mean you are humorous. God knows I'm guilty of that often. They were the theme of some doofus is out there on his gas grill, and people are tasting the food and says, "Oh, it tastes like gas," and it's a double entendre. Does it taste like gas, or does it taste like ass? And anybody who really understands barbecue understands that gas does not impart a flavor. There is a myth that it does, but it doesn't. When you cook with gas, the only byproducts are water and carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, and there's no gas flavor, there's no propane flavor, anything that can flavor the meat. It's relatively flavorless. If you want flavor, you can throw wood chips on there and get some flavor, and cooking with charcoal is a different technique. And I know there's a lot of snobs out there who just turn up their nose at gas grills, but I have a gas grill that I absolutely adore.
I have one too.
And there are times when there is nothing better than my gas grill. I just had a burger today that was cooked on a flat top griddle. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
If in my book, if you can make good food, I don't care how you make it. And if Traeger wants to sell, I may have told the story. I'll tell it as quickly as I can. But when I was a boy, my dad's black and white TV died. We're going back into the 50s. And when it died, Dad said, okay, it's time to get a new TV. They got these newfangled color TVs. Let's go get one. And we went out. And in those days, there was an RCA store. There was a Zenith store. There was a Philips store. You didn't have a Best Buy where they were all in one store. And so we went to all the stores. And you went to the RCA store, and they said, don't buy the Zenith. It's a piece of shit. Don't buy the Philips because of and basically all their sales pitch was the competitor product sucked. And then you went to the next guy, and they did the same thing. Don't buy the other. And we came home empty-handed, and we went out and bought a black and white TV. Because and the moral is, and I always tell people who sell with me, is sell the benefits of your product. Don't sell against the deficits of your competitor's product. Sell your product for what it does best. And for Traeger to sit there and try to demean gas grills is just beneath their dignity. And it was a joke. It was meant to be funny, but it didn't work. And then the advertising ethicists slapped their wrist for it. It's good for them. Oh. And I was on it way before them.
Meathead is right here predicting the barbecue future, AmazingRibs.com is his website, of course. Meathead, stand by just for 1 second, then we'll start talking about things like pastrami and smoked Bloody Marys and pork butt processes. I have Facebook questions from people as well, so stand by, and we will come right back with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. I will quickly talk to you about the longest-running sponsor of the show, the Barbecue Guru. Automatic pit temperature control devices. I was just talking to my day job district sales manager from Peterbilt Manufacturing, who I have gotten into the live fire industry. He has a big green egg. He's getting ready to buy a pellet cooker as well, and he was complaining just a little bit about controlling the temperature of the big green egg. And I said, well, you want to get rid of the big green egg? And he said, no, I like it a lot. And I said, okay, well, quickest fix. Go to BBQGuru.com. That's BBQGuru.com. And then look at a number of their automatic pit temperature control devices that they have. I recommended the PartyQ to him. He's a little bit more on the frugal side, isn't looking for a lot of tech, just something to keep the temperature. PartyQ does that. And for that extra large big green egg, for instance, it's $150. So real cheap point of entry. Keeps the temperature right where he wants it. He doesn't have to worry about it getting out of control or wind spikes or anything like this. But if he wants to upgrade the tech or do something a little bit more outrageous, he can look into the SouvieQue Cloud or the DigiQ or something along these lines. So if you're in the same boat as a guy whose name rhymes with Sam, then you might want to go over to the Barbecue Guru and check out what they have as well when it comes to pit temperature control devices, or all their accessories are really great. They have that rib ring that turns your ceramic cooker into double the rib cooker than it was traditionally. The website, bbqguru.com. That's bbqguru.com. If you have questions, don't guess. Please call 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU. Barbecue Guru continues to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. And we will be back with more Meathead from AmazingRibs.com in 1 second. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rampey.
Oh, yeah. Cooking pellets is also a place you got to hook up with. If you have a pellet-driven cooker, Cooking Pellets is the place to go. Your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You can buy at cookingpellets.com or on Amazon. I think 2 or 3 weeks ago on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less, we replayed a conversation with Chris Becker that was excellent. You want to check that out. And we are rejoined by Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. All right, Meathead, so we got a lot of cooking stuff to get to on the short side of this segment. First and foremost, let's talk a little promotion for AmazingRibs.com, and we have talked a number of times about this thing called SouvieQue or SouvieQue or whatever you call it. But you were writing a chapter. Correct me when I start to steer off the wrong or the right ship here. But you were writing a chapter for the upcoming book on SouvieQue, and that chapter turned into something a little bit more. And you decided to say, "Hey, let's take this great appendix now that I've written on SouvieQue and put it up on Amazon."
Well, yeah, you're right. We just dovetail into what we were talking about before. I don't care how you cook as long as it tastes great.
Yep.
Sous vide is something that by now I hope your readers, your listeners, know something about. But it's a technique of cooking in a plastic bag in a warm water bath. And it's a really clever concept and has some real benefits. Especially when you combine it with smoking and grilling. And so Clint Cantwell, who works for us, was really into it, and he and I did some deep dive, and we did a lot of experimenting, and I was going to write a chapter for my forthcoming book on SouvieQue, which is a term we coined for when you combine sous vide with grilling and barbecue. And it just grew and grew and grew because the more we experimented with it, the more we learned. And by the way, you ask me tough questions because I have formed some opinions now. I had some views from 30,000 feet. I now have some up close and personal views, and I have an idea of what works and what doesn't work.
All right.
And I was much more enthusiastic about it than I am now. But I still compiled all this info into a 60-page approximately book, which is now on Amazon. It's a Kindle book, and it's called SouvieQue Made Easy. If you're a Kindle owner, you can download it for $3.99. If you've got Kindle Unlimited, it's free. And if you're a member of the Pitmaster Club, it's free, and it's on the Pitmaster Club. I embedded it on one of the pages, so you don't have to pay for anything. It's what they call a flip book. It looks like a book. You can turn the pages, and it's full of links to other sources. And it's a balanced, speaking of journalism, it's a balanced reporting. It's not a enthusiastic endorsement sales pitch about why you have to go out and spend hundreds of dollars on a sous vide machine and a special tank and covers and stuff. It does discuss all the equipment and your options, but it also discusses what works and what doesn't work, and why you might want to do it and why you might not. And I'm very pleased with the output and the results. And if you're into it, if you're experimenting or you want to experiment with it, it'd be $3.99 well spent.
All right, $3.99 well spent. Agreed with that. AmazingRibs.com is the website if you want to check it out. And Meathead is right here talking with us as he does the second Tuesday of every month. I'm trying to figure out what topic I want to cover next.
Well, ask me what I don't like about SouvieQue, because I have spoken about it in the positive terms before. So give me the...
All right, give me the contrary opinion then.
Well, I've learned a few things. It ain't good for everything. There is just no reason to throw a ribeye steak in there. There's just no reason to do it.
That's the only reason I sous vide anything is for the steak, Meathead.
Well, I'll tell you, I have done reverse sear, which our friend, and hopefully he's listening tonight, John Dawson, termed redneck sous vide, and side by side with sous vide. And what sous vide does exceedingly well is it makes meat tender. So why would you take a ribeye, which is tender, or a filet mignon, which is tender,
and gross,
and put it in a sous vide? Now, if you have some rump, if you have a tough cut, even brisket, beef brisket, those are tough cuts, and sous vide really does a great job on making them tender. But one of the things that sous vide does also that's really interesting is there's a lot of what they call purge in the bag. There's a lot of liquid comes out of the meat. When you grill, you don't see that liquid. It drips on the fire. When you cook in a frying pan, it comes out in the pan and it vaporizes. But in the sous vide bag, it gets captured in the bag. And depending on how long you've cooked and what temperature you've cooked at, there can be quite a lot of liquid in that bag. Shocking. Now, don't be thinking that it's boiling or braising, because you're cooking at a very low temperature. But there's a lot of liquid in that bag. And so it is not a moisturizing process. It is a tenderizing process. So it is really best suited for tough cuts. And when you do, and I've done this now, and I have pictures of it in this booklet, a 1.5 to 2 inch ribeye steak, sous vide versus reverse sear. The reverse sear steak has significantly more flavor, but it is only slightly more tough. But it is more tough. The sous vide is more tender, a bit more juicy, but has much less flavor. Because you've reverse seared, you've been in a grilling, smoky atmosphere.
Yep.
And even if you're just cooking on a gas grill or a charcoal grill, you're still getting flavor from the grill, from the flame, from infrared. that you don't get, even when you take it out of the bag and you throw it over a hot grill to sear it. So in my world, I want flavor more than tenderness.
I thought, Meathead, and maybe I'm showing my ass here a little bit, when it came to steaks, because, again, that's how I really came to know and like sous vide process, and it wasn't for gaining tenderness. It was strictly for having, as you would say, bumper-to-bumper color from top to bottom and left to right. So I set the machine at 125 degrees. After an hour or two or whatever it is, I'll take it out, pat it dry. I have the gas grill rip-roaring, and then it's 35 to 45 seconds each side to put some color on it. A little grilling oil butter flavor from Butcher's as we come off, and that's it. And when I cut into it, it is a perfect medium rare, and that's why I was doing it. I didn't realize that sous vide was for texture or tenderness first and everything else second.
Well, do the same experiment.
Well, I don't think I want to do that now. I'll just do reverse sear.
Don't take my word for it. This is an easy experiment, and call me on it if I'm wrong. But I mean, what I did was I got a ribeye roast, and I cut steaks out of it, so they're identical essentially.
Yeah.
And I did one reverse sear and one sous vide, and I've done it more than once. And the flavor of the reverse sear is definitely without question.
I mean, I don't even know if you need to make a scientific experiment on that. I mean, if you know the environments of both, the one that is reverse seared has to be.
You can get bumper to bumper color when you reverse sear. I mean, you can get it. So it's not just a matter of temperature or doneness. And by the way, one of the things we did uncover, I have a very close relationship with a food safety expert, a microbiologist who just recently retired from the FDA, who knows a great deal about food safety and happens to sleep in the bed next to me.
Oh, I know.
And we've looked a lot at the safety business, and I strongly recommend in this document that you not cook under 131. That there are a few bacteria, pathogens that you can't kill at 125. But 131 will get everybody. And that's but 131 is still perfect medium rare, and it's a great temp. And it works for everything.
But once you take the meat out of the bag and hit it in the grill, then you've killed whatever is remaining on the surface.
Well, on the surface, and that's important because most of the pathogens are on the surface, not on the inside. But there can be some guys running around on the inside. I just came to the conclusion after doing a lot of research and studying, 131 is a great temperature for doneness, for lamb, for beef, even for fish. I like fish at 125 normally, but 131 is perfectly good, especially in sous vide, and you know you're dead on safe there.
All right, well, that's a whole bit of information that I wasn't expecting this evening.
And we have the charts, and I list all the pathogens and what temperature they die at and stuff like that. It's in that booklet. There's a lot of stuff on safety in there. As you know, there's a lot of stuff on safety all over our website, too.
That's right. Go to Amazon.com and get that sous vide book if you're interested in that. Let's hit this before we run out of time. I have seen the evolution and now growth of smoky cocktails, and my buddy from Hawaii sent me a post and said, "Oh, Meathead's on fire today over on LinkedIn." I mean, I can't even remember the last time I was on LinkedIn.
Oh, God.
But he said you did a smoked Bloody Mary post, and it absolutely, he fell in love with it. So now I have to ask you about the smoked Bloody Mary post.
Well, one of the chapters in my forthcoming book is on smoking cocktails. And I'm collaborating with a woman named Bridget Binns, who has written 25 cookbooks.
Wow.
And she lives in Paso Robles, has a cooking school. And about a year ago, my wife and I flew out there and spent the night in her little B&B there. And her husband, who's a really accomplished mixologist, and Bridget and I, my wife and I went out and tourist in the daytimes, but we punched in on the clock at 3. And punching in meant we were making cocktails.
Yeah.
And we had a blast. And we did a variety of experiments with fire and smoke in cocktails. And we tried, grilling the ingredients or smoking the ingredients. And I'm talking about the liquids, the solids, like lemons and then you squeeze the lemons. We used the smoking gun. We used planks. We tried everything under the sun. And the next book, and I'm posting some of these recipes in the Pitmaster Club.
Oh.
If you're a member of our Pitmaster Club, I'm sharing the contents of this new book with our members for free. But we did a dirty smoking martini. We did a Negroni. We did an Amaro sour. We got a Smoky Mary, something we call a shooting star, which is made with scotch and orange bitters. Something called Fire and Blood, which is with a blood orange, Amontillado sherry, Amaro, Luxardo, great fun. Grilled pineapple margarita. Everybody who is into grilling knows. I'm just going to come out and say it.
All right.
Of everything you can put on the grill, nothing in this world, animal, vegetable, mineral, is better than a pineapple. God almighty, I love grilled pineapple.
What?
Oh my
I have
goodness.
to look back at our 10 years of doing interviews together and hold everything in question that you said. I can't believe that the best thing coming off of a grill on any side of anything is pineapple.
Have you ever just grilled a slice of pineapple?
Meathead. My mind is spinning. I think I'm
didn't
ready
answer the
to
question.
explode. Of course I have. And never
Isn't it
once
Isn't it
once
fantastic?
have I
All
thought
right.
that this could be the
I
best
have-
thing I've eaten off a grill. No way.
I have
Prime
to
rib is
temper it
better.
with the
Every
fact-
steak is better. Chicken is better. Turkey is better. Pizza is better. Meathead, you are off your medicine. We might have to call an end to this whole goddamn thing now. Oh, my God. I'm a buzz.
Well, let's temper it with the fact that I'm a sugar addict. I just love sweet stuff. But pineapple, it just caramelizes and it gets so many complex flavors. It just completely, well, first of all, just raw pineapple is fabulous stuff.
Agreed.
But you grill it and it turns into a whole different animal. I just adore grilled pineapple. So we have a grilled pineapple margarita in the book. Something called a hard and smoky Arnold Palmer. And there are just so many, like this uses Lapsang Souchong, which is a smoky tea. You can smoke the smoking gun. I don't know if your readers know what this is.
Oh,
but it
it's,
looks like a hash
it's Stephen Reichlund's favorite thing.
Yeah, it looks like a hash pipe. It's got this little cup, and you put sawdust in it, and it's got a tube, and it blows smoke. It's a very ephemeral smoke, though. I mean, the smoke doesn't last. I've done some wonderful things with things like scallops, but an hour after you smoke them, you can't taste the smoke. But they're really great for drinks. You can bubble the smoke through the drink. You can hold the glass upside down, put the smoke, and coat the sides of the glass. If you're going to do that, you need to wet the glass because the smoke sticks to the wet glass. And I've done such a deep dive on this. I will probably do a book on smoke and fire cocktails, but it's going to be a big part of the next book. A grapefruit gin and tonic. There are just so many fun things we could do. That'd be a whole fun new section. Let's you and I come on together one night and we'll talk about grilled and smoked cocktails.
All right, let's work on that.
It's a lot of fun.
Maybe coming up in the springtime, we'll set an agenda for that, and that way, as springtime rolls out, we'll be able to do.
But you don't drink anymore.
It's fine. I love talking about it. It doesn't have to be that. I mean, I'm still fun. Oh, come on. Peer pressure. Get off me. Jesus Christ, Meathead. You're on a roll tonight. You can find Meathead at AmazingRibs.com. You can tweet at him on Twitter, although he's a little tempered on Twitter. Just ask him quick questions, nothing that requires huge, lengthy answers. Of course, you can't do that in 140. And in the meantime, you can find Meathead right here on this very show, the second Tuesday of every month. Meathead, always appreciate the time, and we will see you back in the month of lovers, February, my friend.
Greg, Centralites, always fun to hang with you guys. Happy New Year.
There he is, Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Right there. And wow, was he talking He had to have been drinking at a breakneck speed prior to coming on the show to say that pineapple was the best thing that he's ever had off a grill. I think Meathead was just caught up in a second. You saw him building to it. He was taking pause for a second. He was calculating, hey, if I say this out loud, is this really going to be what I want to say? I think he rethought about it again. And then show spirit got him. And he decided to just put it out there and say that pineapple is the best thing that you can have on a grill. He's 100% wrong on that. However, I do 100% believe that he thinks grilled pineapple is excellent. I believe grilled pineapple is excellent, along with grilled peaches, by the way. Not the best thing that you can have off the grill. Take it up with Meathead on his website, AmazingRibs.com. Head on over to Amazon.com and search out the new SouvieQue book that he's just posted up there. Great stuff. All right, we're back to wrap the first hour. Stick around. We will be right back.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, this portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or connect via the Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck because Fireboard is fully integrated with both. You can find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. I was just telling that guy about the guru that I work with. I also told him he should probably get a Fireboard. He got some ridiculous remote thermometer set up. I said, Sam, when did you get that? He said 2 days ago. Do you have the receipt? Yes. Return that shit. Go to fireboard.com, get the Fireboard. It's like $120 more than you spent on whatever you just bought, but you will be thanking me sooner than later. 6 ports. Hook it up however you want. We thank Meathead again for the segments, the last 2. Man, oh man. Meathead has got me all flipped over. We thank Meathead for joining us the last 2 segments. Steve Ray saying, I bet Meathead thinks Popeyes is the bomb. No doubt. It's a 7 out of 10. Grilled pineapple is a 7 out of 10. Well, according to Meathead, it's 10 out of 10. There's nothing in the world that is better. Nothing in the world than grilled pineapple. I just love grilled pineapple. Again, the Sous Vide Barbecue book is Amazon.com. I would imagine if you just search Meathead and Kindle book or just Meathead, the book will come up first. The Science of Great Barbecue and Grilling, but then I'm sure you'll see the appendix that he has put out. 60-plus pages with words. I refuse to really read words, so if it's not just all pictures. All right, we are heading to the second hour. Your phone calls and emails are welcome. If you wish, 216-220-0966. If you're just joining us, you are in time for a whole other 60 minutes, but you missed the first. That will be available for download wherever podcasts can be fetched in about an hour and 15 minutes from now or so. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. You stick around. We'll be right back. Laura Pall coming up. Maybe Steve Lulofs to close the show. I might or I might not have a whole rant on something called the runner's high. Stick around and see what I got. We'll be right back.
This is Jimmy Burns from Malvern, Ohio, and you're listening to BBQ Central.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me! Fine, how you doing?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono. It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners.
Now listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show. So happy you have decided to either stay with me for the second hour or you're just popping across. Maybe you're on Facebook. Maybe you're on YouTube Live. Maybe you're listening the way it should be. No video whatsoever and checking it out on the TuneIn app on your phone or smart device or through the website. If you're not familiar with that, if you go to the bbqcentralshow.com, there is a live audio stream button right at the top left. Click that, and that will take you right over to the TuneIn. If you like that, download the app. That way, if you're in the car next Tuesday and you don't think there's any other way for you to get the live show, or you don't want to eat up all your data through doing the video stream on Facebook or YouTube, you can get just the audio through TuneIn and listen to it like a regular radio program. And I think that's the best way to take it in because your mind can paint the pictures of what's going on. Instead of my face really telling you the true story, in your mind, you can paint much more grandiose pictures. You could think that I was way more worked up than I really was, or you can make my face more worked up than it really was when I was yelling at Meathead for making such blasphemous statements a little bit earlier. By the way, if you missed me admonish Meathead for saying that grilled pineapple is the best thing to come off a grill ever, you will have to get that on download. That will be out tomorrow. The second hour of this show will be released on Thursday. Still to come tonight, Laura Pall of Smithfield. She's the new brand manager. We'll talk to her and meet her for the first time. And more importantly, well, not more importantly, but just as importantly, we will also find out who the 2020 Smithfield Grant recipients are going to be. So make sure that you get on all of your social media channels and put out that in about 12 minutes from now, we'll be revealing, or maybe a little later than that, we'll be revealing who the 2020 Smithfield Grant recipients are. So if you have put in for that app and you run a barbecue competition and you know all about Smithfield, maybe you haven't had it in years past, maybe you had it in the first year, but that's the second year and so on, you're going to want to tune in for this one. It's going to be very exciting. We're going in chronological order as the events will happen. So soonest to happen will be mentioned first, and then we'll work out through the balance of the calendar year and see who the lucky folks are. And hopefully we can also get a list from Laura as well that I can post on social media. So if you are just too anxious to wait for the podcast to show up on Thursday, or you don't want to go through the video, then you don't have to do that. You can check it out on the podcast or through the list if we can post it up on social media. Don't forget, socially, you can follow me at BBQ Central Show, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, /BBQ Central Show on Facebook. I have like 2 videos on TikTok. I was really into it. I got really off of it, and maybe I'm going to be back into it, but probably not. So just go ahead and sign up for it and expect nothing. Coming up this Friday, by the way, aside from Wednesday podcast release and Thursday podcast release, did you know this show is a live show? It happens Tuesdays from 9 to 11. And at the very same time that I am doing this show, literally this instant, I am also recording audibly. And I make the audible recording a podcast that's released Wednesdays and Thursdays. Now, in addition, on Fridays, John Solberg, the executive producer of something called The Best Moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 Minutes or Less Plus Tax, we will have episode 107. 107. Let that sink in. As I've said time and time again, I believe I host the first and fourth longest running barbecue podcast, maybe fifth, but I don't even know how many episodes, I don't know how many barbecue podcasts that are out there now and that have been doing it for a little while, or even up to 107 episodes. That's over 2 years. We have done it. 107 episodes to be revealed on Friday. That'll be episode 107. So I think it's like mine, and then Man Meat, and then actually, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I have 3 of the 4 longest running. It's the third one that's a little sketchy because Meathead has hired me to do a weekly pitcast for his Pitmaster Club forum member, and I think I'm getting ready to release episode 192 of that, if you can believe it. So I think it's me, and then Man Meat, and then me again for AmazingRibs.com, then me again / John Solberg for the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less at episode 107. I guess to put it mildly, I own the barbecue podcast segment. Step off, bitch. We bringing it. We ain't new to this. Anyway, episode 107, taking you back to December 12th, 2013, and then Pitmaster of Warren County Pork Choppers, Donnie Bray, was my guest. And I'm telling you this right now. I listened back to it as I was getting ready to post it in the feed over the weekend while I was at a volleyball practice. And I listened to all 10 minutes of this, or 9 minutes and 58 seconds, or whatever the hell it is. This is a classic. You don't even have to know who Donnie Bray is. All you have to know is this. 2013, at the end of the year, which is when this original interview was recorded, there was a huge Team of the Year race going on between Warren County Pork Choppers and Donnie Bray and Tim Grant's True Bud Barbecue. By the way, take a look around. Neither of them anywhere to be found at the moment. I think 2013 was the last competition season that Tim Grant did, if I'm not mistaken. And then soon following after, Donnie Bray of Warren County Pork Choppers was not quickly out of the mix, but over the last couple of years, I haven't seen him really making any kind of run at anything. So shout out to Donnie Bray. Hope you're doing well. But this is a great interview. And you know what? I don't even want to spoil it. But basically, it came down to one competition in December where Donnie had to win in order to get Team of the Year. And Tim Grant either had to do, like, match or do better. If Donnie won, then Tim was going to have to win in order to recapture. Maybe that's what it was. It's a great conversation. It's not extravagantly long. And the candor and openness and honesty of his answers to my questions is probably unmatched in recent memory. Totally honest, totally open, a great interview. You don't have to be a competition person to really enjoy it. It's just a great, open, tremendous amount of candor in the interview. So if you just like good interviews, which you must because you keep tuning in here week in and week out, you'll really enjoy it, especially if you came to the show post-2013. Again, this original interview was December 12th, 2013, after Team of the Year was decided. Again, that's Donnie Bray from Warren County Pork Choppers. That will be in the podcast feed on Friday. Now, I did mention this with Meathead because we talked about it. It was found on MondayQ.com, if you didn't see it. This was back a couple weeks ago. Charbroil LLC, makers of gas grills, challenged online commercials run by Traeger for its wood-fired grills. Charbroil argued the Traeger's claim in the commercials, the problem with propane is when you cook with gas, your food tastes like gas, was unduly denigrating, especially since, according to the challenger, the phrase tastes like gas is repeated so many times and spoken so quickly that it sounds like the actors were saying tastes like ass. which, of course, Traeger did not deny. Traeger defended its commercial, arguing that over-the-top humor of the spot made it highly unlikely that any reasonable consumer would interpret the taste like gas or ass anything further than that. And it also argued that since nearly every American adult has eaten food from a propane grill, the target audience is intimately familiar with the food grilled with gas and the taste cooking on gas grill imparts to food, and knows that food cooked on a gas grill doesn't taste like gas or ass. Perhaps unsurprisingly, NAD did not agree.
Andrew, you are not the father.
It concluded that the statements are unsupported, objectively provable, and falsely denigrating taste claims, not poofery. NAD rejected Traeger's argument that the target audience would, because of its experience, understand the claim is untrue, making the over-the-top humor of the ad much funnier. Rather, NAD stated no amount of humor can rectify an expressly false claim. Thus, NAD recommended that the advertiser discontinue the claims. So once again, proving that while he probably didn't realize he was prognosticating the barbecue future at Traeger, indeed he did. While the case is certainly not the first time that NAD has rejected an advertiser's attempt to defend its ad on the grounds that it's too funny, it may be the first case of ass canning. Sometimes you stretch for the humor, I think. We didn't get to the runner's high, but that's an evergreen piece of content when I need it. I'll talk to you quickly about Green. Speaking of evergreen, Green Mountain Grills, they're evergreen as well. They have a classic or choice line, if you will. I'm going to write that down. Choice. They also have a prime line of cookers. Prime line is the newer version, of course. It's got the peek-in window on the cooking chamber and pellet hopper, a couple different internal meat temperature probes. More of a robust chassis build on the Prime line as well. If you don't want to shuck out the bucks for the Prime, Choice is fine as well. I have a couple of those. The good news is the bigger models, Jim Bowie and Daniel Boone, both accommodate the pizza oven insert. Chef Christina Fitzgerald from Sugar Shack. Is that what it is? Sugar Shack Barbecue? I think that's wrong, by the way. Is it Sugar Shack? Can somebody check me on that? Damn it. She just got a new pizza oven insert. She was getting ready to jump all over that. She's going to be happy about it. I love mine. Use it all the time. Pizza parties are fun. If you want something portable because your NFL team is getting ready to play the championship game in the AFC or NFC, Davy Crockett's what you want to go with. If you don't have access to that traditional power outlet, it's got 12-volt technology. Prime line, by the way, has 12-volt power technology as well. Read about them all, then find your dealer nearest to you when you find the dealer locator. No, it's not Sugar's Barbecue, Steve. That's Lene Oxley. Come on. GreenMountainGrills.com. That's GreenMountainGrills.com. They got pellets, they got sauces, they got rubs, accessories as well. Once again, they do work on a dealer network. You can't get them online. Find your dealer. Go check them out there in person. Feel the build, feel the quality, get all your questions answered by the dealer, and then make the purchase and feel confident. No buyer's remorse here. That's why they do it like that. GreenMountainGrills.com, and we're back with Laura Pall, Smithfield. Stick around, be right back.
The only show giving you a monthly visit from a doctor of barbecue. A man actually named Meathead. The author of a barbecue Bible. Bloggers, reviewers, competitors, and manufacturers by the dozens. It's the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
The name, by the way, is Sugar Fire Barbecue. Props to me for remembering that. Steve Ray giving me fake news information. This portion of the show, of course, being brought to you by Smithfield. That's right. Are you signed up for the Committed Cooks program? We'll talk more about that here in a minute. SmokingWithSmithfield.com is the place you want to go for that. That's SmokingWithSmithfield.com. My first guest of the second hour, current brand manager for Smithfield. If you were a barbecue event that applied for the 2020 Smithfield Grant program, and you have been wondering if you will be getting the call, we will be, okay, go back here. Hold on one second. Then you'll want to stay tuned as we'll be revealing, of course, who will be getting the hot Smithfield Grant program awards. So we'll race to the hotline and welcome first time to the show, Laura Pall. Hey, Laura.
Hey, Greg. How are you doing?
I'm absolutely fine. Sorry for the little technical glitch there. I'm not sure what happened on my... Skype is the worst thing ever, Laura. I don't know if you have any familiarity with Skype, but it seems that I am relegated to dealing with such archaic technology in the land of technology, which is ever sweeping and changing by the second. This seems to be like my best thing, and it's like the worst thing ever at the same time.
Technology is great, but only when it works. And, it's a 50-50 chance is what I see.
Yeah, typically for this show, it almost seems to be 40-60 and not in my benefit. So we will point to hopeful futures here as we go forward. All right, so before we get into the grant program and the Committed Cooks program talk here, Laura, I wanted to quickly get a background on you. It's your first time to the show, which we certainly appreciate you taking time out to do that. So a little background about you, where you are currently in the country, maybe where you grew up, and if you've always been in the marketing realm.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
You bet.
I grew up in Connecticut, so I'll say I'm a Yankee at heart, but I've lived in Virginia now longer than I've lived up north. Been about 15 years that I've lived in Virginia now. Went to University of Virginia, William & Mary for my MBA program, and have been with Smithfield for the last 4 years with the marketing department the whole time. So I have some background in sales, but primarily marketing and shopper marketing.
When you look at marketing and how that term has evolved or been defined over 4 years or 5 years or 6 years, what makes somebody successful in marketing? Because I think a lot of people say, I want to get into marketing, but I don't even know if anybody realizes what the hell that term means anymore.
Yeah, I think the biggest attribute someone can have is really flexibility, their willingness to learn, because, marketing, especially digital marketing, is constantly changing. And if you're not, up to date with what's new and what's popular and resonating with consumers, you're yesterday's news.
Laura Pall joining me here on the show. Connecticut, now there's actually some legends of live fire up there in the East Coast. Chris Lasinger is a legend. I don't know if you're familiar with what used to be the East Coast Grill or not. That was kind of up in that neck of the woods. But into Boston, of course, you have guys that are like Chris Hart and, a whole bunch of those guys. Are you a avid live fire fan in general, like growing up? Were you always around it? I mean, obviously in Virginia, you would have a huge argument on your hands because there's a lot of people there that think Virginia is literally the birthplace of Southern barbecue, and every other place is something that happened after Virginia got their hands on barbecue. So where do you fall in the live fire mix?
I don't think I can take sides on this, Greg. But, I do love barbecue of all types and kinds. And, hey, if it's good food, I will show up and eat it. I dabble a little bit myself. I've made some pretty good ribs on a jerry-rigged Weber grill. So if it's good meat, I'm there. I'm eating it.
Smithfield has been very involved with the barbecue competition scene the past number of years. As I look at varying parts of the live fire industry, I mean, certainly I could make an argument that the competition sector might have cooled off a bit. However, as Smithfield looks into 2020, how do you see the live fire market in general? And then what do you see, or what are you guys budgeting for goals and benchmarks the first half of this year?
Well, I think that the barbecue market is continuing to grow, and whether that be on the competition side or really with the backyard barbecue, I think it's something that people are having a bigger interest in. So, they might not be able to go out and compete every weekend like some of these pros that we're working with, but they really want to make awesome barbecue for their friends and family in their backyard. So, that's who we really want to talk to and get interested in the sport of barbecue and supporting it. And, Smithfield is really proud to continue our commitment to the world of barbecue and the sport.
I've noticed that, while there may be a perceived cooling of the competition aspect, the backyard is, probably the antithesis to that. It's growing every year. There's more and more cookers coming out of the market. Does Smithfield kind of keep their finger on that pulse too and say, hey, the backyard market is really firing up now, and it has been over the last couple of years? And are there special products that you guys delineate between one sector or another, or try and push certain products to one sector or another?
No, I mean, I think we make excellent products that obviously world championship pitmasters use on the circuit, and that I pick up and I use at home on the weekend. So we don't differentiate between those consumers, but obviously we're keeping our pulse on that market, and we want to deliver excellent product to consumers, whoever they be. And obviously having our championship pitmasters support us and sponsor the brand and use our product is a fantastic way to get that message out there and show, at competitions how well they do with our product.
Laura Pall joining me here on the show, brand manager over at Smithfield. All right, Laura, so before we get into the grant recipient announcements, let's quickly go ahead and hit that Committed Cooks program. It's a program that's been very popular here over the last number of years. So for 2020, how many spots are left open, and how does this particular version of the Committed Cooks program look as compared to years past?
So I believe this is our 5th year of the Committed Cooks program. There are 300 teams signed up for the 2020 season, and registration actually closed back in November. It was very popular. I think we had all of our registration spots taken within a couple weeks.
Wow.
So, unfortunately, there are no spots left for the 2020 season. But, for the program, you do have to be a member of a sanctioning body. You have to pay a nominal $25 shipping fee and commit to cooking with Smithfield pork for the season. In return, we send you a whole bunch of swag that you can put up and display while you're competing. We've been known to show up at events and, give out some extra cool prizes. But, I would really encourage people who are interested and are not part of the program yet to, stay tuned to our Smoking with Smithfield website. And, in the fall, we'll be putting up more details for the 2021 season.
Wow. So that's, has it ever sold out that quick? I mean, that's huge.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
It was pretty popular. So yeah, it was great to see, people's interest. I wish we had more spots available.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right. So the Smithfield Grant program is one of the other things that have really been a great supplement to events that it gets handed to and partner with each year. So before we get into announcing who's going to be the lucky recipients of some of those grants, how does this grant program look compared to years past?
So the grant program is something that we started back in 2017. So this will be our 4th year doing it. And, the idea is that we really want to support pork barbecue in particular. And these programs are awarded up to $3,000 to deepen the prize pool for their competition. And over the years, this year included, we will have supported over 140 events at an investment of over $420,000.
Wow.
So we really want to support, the events out there, drive teams to go compete in those events, and support the sport as a whole. But it's a big investment on our part, but we really see returns, and we've partnered with some really great events in years past, and then this year, I'm really excited to announce those events.
If you are an event and you fill out an application, maybe you don't get picked this year. Maybe you have never been picked and you've applied 4 years. Are there any general rule of thumb things that as an organizer or an event planner that you want to have kind of locked down in order to give yourself a best look, if you will?
Well, we have had a number of teams be chosen for a number of years in a row. But I will say, as we continue to get applications and as the years have gone by, we have turned down programs that we think are now very well established. Mm-hmm. So what we're trying to do is really help those new events get off the ground, give them a little bit of, extra support that they might not be able to do on their own. But for the most part, we see so many great events come through the application process. Again, I'm sad that there's not more spots to give out. We had over 121 teams or events apply for this year alone.
Wow.
So, it's a small percentage that we're able to support. But I would just say keep on applying. If you haven't gotten in yet, please keep the applications coming in year after year, and hopefully we'll be able to support you.
All right. Are you ready to start revealing, Laura?
I am, yes.
Man, I can't
wait.
wait.
I'm going to go in the chronological order if that works for you, Greg.
Works for me. So go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay. Number 1 on March 20th is the Smokin' in the Square Barbecue Cook-Off in Pensacola, Florida. Number 2, March 27th, Tennessee River Barbecue Battle and Music Fest in Jackson, Tennessee. Number 3, March 27th as well, the Hammond Barbecue Incorporated in Hammond, Louisiana. Number 4 on March 28th, that's going to be a busy weekend.
Yeah.
Suncoast Barbecue and Bluegrass Bash in Venice, Florida. Number 5, April 3rd, we have the Car Fest San Antonio Barbecue Cook-Off in San Antonio, Texas.
Nice.
Number 6, April 10th, Smoke in the Spring in Osage City, Kansas. April 24th, Washmo Barbecue Bites and Blues in Washington, Missouri. Number 8, on May 1st, Masters in May in Bancroft, Wisconsin. Number 9, May 22nd, High on the Hog Festival in Winchester, Tennessee. Number 10, on May 24th, Red, White, and Barbecue in Westmont, Illinois. Number 11, which is our halfway mark, is May 29th, Smokin' in Steel in Owatonna, Minnesota. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Number 12, June 5th, we have the 9th annual Valley Veterans Barbecue Competition in Valley, Nebraska. Number 13, June 27th, Heritage Days Barbecue Showdown in Belvedere, Illinois. Number 14, July 10th, we have the Clayton Barbecue Cook-Off in Clayton, California. Number 15, on July 11th, the Gold Ribbon Barbecue Fest in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Number 16, on July 18th, we have the Chillin' and Grillin' in the Glades in Wise, Virginia. Number 17, on August 28th, the 9th annual Death's Door Barbecue in Washington Island, Wisconsin. Number 18, on September 11th, we have Riverfest in Decatur, Alabama. 19, on September 18th, is the Tilly HD Biker Blues Barbecue Rally in Salisbury, North Carolina. Number 20, again on September 18th, we have the Tri-City Barbecue Fest in Denison, Iowa. Number 21, November 7th, is the Polar Pig Barbecue Cook-Off in Concord, North Carolina. And last but not least, on December 11th, 2020, we have the Briscoe Ranch Barbecue Cook-Off in Uvalde, Texas. And that is our list for 2020. Congratulations, guys.
Holy moly. Wow, that's 22 in total, correct?
22 in total, yeah.
22 in total. We have Texas and North Carolina and Iowa, Florida, Tennessee, Illinois, Minnesota, Nebraska, California, Wisconsin a couple different times, Virginia. I mean, it seems like there was a true concerted effort to, not only take into account really good events, but take it all over the country as well.
Absolutely.
From that return aspect that we were talking about, because you said that it's for the amount that you guys are committing, as Smithfield is doing and has been over the last 4 years, you're getting that return. So is that from a people joining competition and using product? Is it from backyarders getting out of the competition scene and just buying for that? Like, what's the pop that Smithfield sees in order to continue to want to do this year after year? Because it is, I mean, you kind of, say, wish you could do more, but, no news to you, Laura, but nobody else is doing this, by the way. So $420,000 is a lot to invest over, the last 4 years. So I'm just wondering where the eyeballs for Smithfield are to say, yeah, this is a wise investment for us to continue to do year after year.
At the end of the day, it's more product, Greg. So we definitely see sales jump, and that comes from a number of different areas, whether it be from, competition cooks using our product to consumers going to these events and seeing cooks use the products and buying them at their local grocery stores, to, some of these competition teams have really big social media followings, and just a little bit of social media sharing goes a long way. So we appreciate the support, and can't wait to see a great season and some good barbecue all year round.
This coming weekend, KCBS has their annual banquet over in Kansas City. Is that something that some of you guys are going to be heading out and taking part in, or any plans to do that?
Yeah, I'll actually be there with some of my colleagues, and we're going to have some raffle prizes and some other stuff from Smithfield. So it'll be a really fun event. I can't wait. Emily Detweiler's put on a great event over there at KCBS, and it'll be a fun weekend. So looking forward to seeing or meeting anyone else who might be there.
Are you going to be readily accessible if people want to chat you up and bend your ear a little bit about Smithfield and pork and all that stuff? You're going to be around?
Absolutely.
All right. So, craft your takes accordingly. And if you see Laura, grab her, say hi, and make sure you tell her that you appreciate everything that Smithfield is doing, not only for the competition scene, but for the backyard folks as well. I'm not a competitor myself, Laura, but I am a avid barbecue cook here in the backyard, and we're always talking about Smithfield here in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. So anything else that you would like to promote or, tease us or tickle us a little bit with a feather before I let you go tonight?
Nothing to tease tonight. I just, want to say thank you to everyone who applied for the grant program. Keep it coming. There are some really great events this year, and keep barbecuing.
All right.
Thank you for having me, Greg.
You bet. She'll be there at the Kansas City Barbecue Society banquet this coming weekend as well. First time of the show and brand manager at Smithfield, Laura Pall. Thanks so much, Laura.
Thank you.
You got it. There she is, Laura Pall. Great transition into the barbecue jungle for first-timer Laura Pall. And, man, a lot of great stuff there. Smokin' Joe's Barbecue Pit. Did you win? Did you win the grant program? What's the name of your competition? Did you win? I don't know. All right. From a host perspective, I certainly appreciate succinct and direct answers, right? Good stuff there. So look forward to having Laura back on the show here over the course of 2020. And if you're going to be in Kansas City for that banquet, make sure you stop by and say hi to Laura and thank her for everything that Smithfield is doing for both the competition and the backyard. If you're feeling exceptionally froggy and you're going to pitch her, make sure you have something tangible to show, sell in the right way. Don't walk up and say, hey, do you want to sponsor me? I can already tell you the answer. No. It's the human condition. we are ingrained to innately say no. Oh, he's here. My phone hangs up very quickly. Southside Market and Barbecue, folks. I got to talk to you about them. 1882 is when they were established. 3 generations of the same family running the oldest barbecue joint in Texas, offering premium Central Texas barbecue. Slow smoked over real wood, shipping, distributing, manufacturing sausages for companies across the nation. From food trucks to multi-chain restaurants, Southside Sausage can be on your menu too. All meats are processed on the on-site USDA inspected facility. A trusted partner with a focus on quality and authenticity. You have wholesale options available through shipping nationwide via the FedEx, food service distribution through Cisco, U.S. Foods, and Martin Foods. Co-packaging capable from research and development to package completion. They can also follow your recipe or help you develop something brand new from scratch. Private label opportunities also available. In simple terms, you sell their sausages already made under your name, adding a stream of revenue. You know it's a product everybody loves. You can just have your name on it. For me, Barbecue Central beef sausage, but it's really Southside Market beef sausage. You can visit SouthsideMarket.com if you're outside of the local area and get all of your shipments. And you can save 10% when you do that by using code BBQ Central, all one word, lowercase, BBQ, CENTRAL, BBQ Central, to save 10% off when you shop at SouthsideMarket.com. Come on. As Laura said, technology is great until it doesn't work. I hate Skype. Again, SouthsideMarket.com. That's SouthsideMarket.com. Promo code BBQ Central for 10% off your order. It works every time, by the way. Every time. All right, we'll see if we can't raise Steve Luloff from Veterans Q. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rampey.
All right, welcome back, and we thank Laura Pall from Smithfield again. This portion of the show brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker. Who's ready to hang? Give me some hang time. That's right, Pit Barrel Cooker. You can hang your food. You can put it on a grate if you want to. You can do a combination of both. They got great accessories, cool coffee mugs that look like pit barrels. And they might have a 50-gallon-ish size coming out. Maybe towards the end of the summer. We'll have to confirm with Noah Glanville. In the meantime, you go to pitbarrelcooker.com. All right, joining me to close out the show is the creator of a great sauce and rub line. Second time on the show. We call him Steve Luloff. Hey, Steve.
Hey, what's up? How are you guys doing?
Did you, go right to the airport and throw up the Veterans Q background and you are somehow, in a TSA holding cell or what? I mean, that's very impressive.
That's how we roll. I always bring the banner with me.
Yeah.
No, I was at my kid's soccer game and or soccer meet, or swim meet.
Yeah.
And I lost track of time, so I missed my flight. So I'm chilling home tomorrow.
What?
Yeah.
Oh dear. I mean, was that for work that you were flying?
Yeah. It's all good.
They don't care if do they send the private jet for you tomorrow and usher you the way you should have been flown? Do I see a hidden agenda?
Yeah, exactly. It's first class tomorrow,
Yeah.
Air Force One style.
Yes, I like it. So, all right. Well, I'm glad you could make it in for the show without any rushes into the terminals of whatever airport. Were you going to New York or Washington?
DC.
DC, yeah. What do you fly in there? Is it not Reagan, right?
No, I never go there. Go to Dulles.
Yeah, Dulles. Oh my God.
I used to live right down the street from it, so it was kind of nice whenever I flew back and forth to Chicago on the weekend, so I just went right there and I was home in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's the best. The only easier way is when you do fly private and you can just go right into the FBO and no security check, hop on and you're out of there. But that's very expensive. Steve, before we get into the topic tonight, let's quickly recap the business, when you get started, and how things are going currently as you look into 2020.
All right. Well, the business started. We're about to actually in February. We're going to hit our start our third year of business. We started doing competitions in 2015, doing backyards. Did pretty well. Then we started doing KCBS the last couple years. Through our barbecue competitions, we being naive, I thought you had to make your own sauce and rubs. So I started making my own sauce and my own rubs for competition, and people started liking it and started asking us where we could make our sauce or where they could buy it, and so we just started selling it to family, friends, and then started getting to grocery stores. And 3 years later, now we're in, I don't know, I think like 15 or 16 different states and a few hundred stores or so throughout the country, and now we're trying to expand and hopefully double that this year for 2020.
You know, Steve, when I first started doing the show, so let's call it 2006, this was podcast before I actually started doing the live show, which will be 12 years next month. You weren't naive to think that you had to make rubs and sauces. Back then, the majority of teams made homemade rubs and sauces. And then it seemed like in that, let's call it 2010, 2012 arena, there were an onslaught of sauces being brought to market. There were a lot more rubs being brought to market, and all of a sudden it went from, you have to make your own rubs and sauces to stand apart, to create your signature flavor, to why the hell would you make your own rubs and own sauces when there are so many awesome ones to choose on the market? So when you were, we did a documentary on the show last year. There was a guy by the name of Dion Blumenrader who decided he was going to bring his sauce to market. And we started right in the beginning of the year from concept, and we followed him all the way through to the first bottling. And awesome. The thing at the end of the year in December when we did the follow-up or the final 2019 thing was, what was the biggest pitfall? What do you wish you would have done? I'm getting to a question here. And he said, I wish I would have pulled more people, not just my family and friends. I wish I would have sent it out to, 500 other people. When you were getting your sauce available, I mean, people were telling you how good it was, but before you made that jump, did you pull 500 or 600 people, or was it mostly people that you knew, maybe just saying, hey, it's great, in hopes they could get some free Veterans Q sauce and rub?
Yeah, actually, it was only probably like, 10, maybe 10, 15 people. So I just would have friends and neighbors come over and family members, and I had them fill out I made little index cards, and, with certain questions on, like too smoky, too sweet, too spicy, that kind of stuff. And I had them fill out, kind of like a secret ballot or a secret entry, so I wouldn't know who it was. And that's how I did it. And thankfully, I have some, people around me, especially my wife. They're, very blunt. They'll tell you straight up, hey, if something's nasty or not. So it's kind of nice. I do have some friends, some people who always say, oh, everything you're doing is so great, but those are the kind of people you kind of want to stay away from.
Steve Luloff's joining me here on the show. The website, veteransq.com. That's the letter Q.com if you want to check it out here while we're talking. Before we get into the topic here, any new products coming up on the horizon, Steve, that you want to scoop tonight?
We're actually in the works with 2 different ones, with 2 different sauces, hopefully coming out. But we're like in that little crossroads right now on, I guess kind of get funding for them. So once we get that, we'll have a couple new products, a couple new sauces out there, and they're ready to go. We just got to wait for that funding to come through.
All right. So angel investors, if you're listening, Steve is looking for any angels around him to drop some funding, and we'll get those. Are they flavored sauces like an apple or a peach or a pineapple or something along these lines? Chipotle?
I like barbecue. I like pretty generic barbecue. So we got like a whiskey sauce and a mustard sauce coming out.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
So NBBQA topic talk tonight, and you had messaged me yesterday and said, hey, did you happen to see this? Or maybe you'd mentioned there was kind of a rule change. So, for the folks that don't know, there's the National Barbecue Association. Every year they have their showcase event. I think there's a lot of that is perhaps it's their only event where they use to raise funds. And it's typically in a barbecue area. The year that I went in person, it was Dallas. I think the following year or last year was Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken. And this year it's going to be in Louisville. So Louisville, maybe not as much of a barbecue mecca as the other two, but I like Louisville as a city anyway because I'm a big horse race guy, and of course we know Churchill Downs is there. But I digress. There's a portion of this event is called the Awards of Excellence. So I'll let you take over here, Steve, but tell us a little bit about the Award of Excellence as you know them and how you get into them, how you experienced it last year, and then most importantly, the change that you saw this year that you wanted to come on and talk about.
Yeah, I mean, the NBBQA, I think, is a great organization for barbecue. They have some stuff that they could offer people from anyone has to deal with barbecue, from catering to barbecue restaurants. If you have your own products, pretty much anything that you have that you're I guess you want to say professional at in barbecue, the NBBQA is great for that. You have a lot of opportunities. You could talk to different people, communicate. They have like classes, throughout the year, and whatnot. So that's kind of like the gist of it. I could be totally wrong with what else there is. And then they have this every year they do their awards banquet. And then with that, they also have they rent out big hotels for a few days, and they have classes. A few classes a day. You do lunches together. They also have like SCA done, goes there and they have a couple of events, and you can meet and greet with all the big names in barbecue and whatnot. So I think the NBBQA is actually a good thing overall. But I know they made some changes this year with the Awards of Excellence, and it's I think it's going to hurt a few people out there, especially I think the smaller name people. So that's kind of like where we were talking, and a few of us been talking back and forth about this, about the Awards of Excellence and the changes that they made and how it's going to kind of hurt the small guy, if that makes sense.
So you were so this is Awards of Excellence, something you have to enter. For the folks that maybe are new to my show, I did enter, kind of tongue-in-cheek, my show in the Awards of Excellence, since I was going to be in Dallas-Fort Worth. It was $75, I think, when I entered. So you had to pay to get in. I think the year that I did it was the first year that they were going to have like audio media be judged. And I had contacted somebody that was in charge of Awards of Excellence. I said, hey, whenever money's involved, I get my butt puckers a little bit. I become very questioning. And I said, who's judging my stuff, or whoever else is being put in here? And then if you don't deem to be any entries that qualify for an Award of Excellence, am I just paying you $75 and you're going to take everybody else's $75 and that's it? Or because we have paid, you are going to pick a winner? And if it's me, do I feel like I've just paid for an award? It wasn't necessarily like given or earned. So those are my two speed bump issues as we went in, a couple of years ago. So let's fast forward to last year, at least. Talk to me a little bit about your experience there. I assume there was still an entry fee at that point. And how did you do in the Awards of Excellence?
Yeah, there was an entry fee. Pretty much everything, pretty much every kind of like awards competition, there's always a fee for it. Obviously organizations need to raise some money somehow.
Yeah.
And that's another way. So every award or every single kind of competition that I've ever done, for our barbecue products, there's always been some kind of fee. I think it's around, maybe last year, I don't remember exactly, but it might have been about $30, $40. This year, it's also $30 or $40 to enter per product or per category, depending if you're a member or whatnot.
Yeah.
So the whole paying thing, is, I understand some people have a little hang up with that, but everything I've done so far, it's kind of, I guess it's kind of common practice, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But yeah, last year, so we entered actually our first year ever having a commercial. So like in the BBQA, you have to have a commercial packed product, so something that's like shelf ready, that has all the the legalities behind it and whatnot. So that's kind of a little bit different than other ones. But 2 years ago, when we entered our first time, we entered our spicy barbecue sauce, and we took first place in our spicy barbecue sauce. Then and I didn't go to that was in Dallas. I didn't go to Dallas just thinking it was kind of expensive for us to go head out there. We're brand new to barbecue. We only been in it for a couple, like a year or so. And we figured, hey, why not? Never thought we would win. Luckily that we won, and it was a big shock, and it was awesome. So then we entered our products again in last year, and we got an email about 2 weeks out, and it said, hey, you're one of the top, top finalists or something like that. And, if you want to come, come, you're going to be able to accept your award. We would like, people who, are there to accept their award, which makes a lot of sense, kind of, So I was like, hey, I'm going to win an award. I'm going to, I assumed it was going to be for our sweet heat barbecue sauce. So I was like, hey, let's go out there again. And, we're going to do, pretty decent. So I went out there and ended up, went there the first day, and it was cool. They had like Culinary Fight Club was there, and you kind of hang out. And the big thing at these, at the conferences, actually like afterwards, and you hang out at the bar with all the other, barbecue people, and you kind of just talk to them and, mingle and network. And it's a big networking thing. So that's the coolest thing of all. But then last year when we were at the Awards of Excellence banquet, all of a sudden, I kept on hearing my name getting called, and I got called over and over again, and we took home 6 awards, and I think we took home the most awards out of anybody, from all the big guys to the the little guys, and it was crazy, and it was just something that was just, it's still hard to believe that that my product, I just happened to, I think it's like judging, you just get lucky. I just happened to you hit the right tables. I hit the right tables over and over again, and it was awesome. So, but then, so that was cool there. But then the classes, and then the next day we did classes, and different classes that trying to maybe to help bring your barbecue sauce, and there's so many different barbecue classes. It could be from anything like how to work with the media to, maybe how to get your product out to the market, or maybe you talk. I think last year they had. A few people, the big names in barbecue up there on the stage talking about, their barbecue experience.
Yeah, like the Masters talk or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they had them, which was cool meeting those, those guys and whatnot. But, after 2 days, I just figured it's kind of like, hey, this is not, it wasn't my thing anymore. I figured, hey, I'm already communicating. All I'm doing here is just coming to wait until to the end of the day and wait till the bar and, drink all night long and whatnot. So after a couple of days, I just figured, hey, why not just go ahead and go home. And that weekend, actually, I was supposed to go to Louisville for a little PBC thing, pit barrel thing, but that ended up falling through. So I just went home and hung out after that. But it was cool overall. But there was I don't think it's for everybody, but I think it's something that's good for a little bit for sure.
All right. So as we look forward to basically 2 months from now, I think this year's is first weekend in April, if I'm not mistaken, down in Louisville. Yeah. Awards of Excellence obviously happening then. I'm getting the emails saying, hey, it's quickly coming to a close for entry, so you better get your name in if you want to do it. So what's going on this year that has been different in years past?
So in the previous years, they had culinary students do the judging. This year, they reached out, and they're looking for judges. They want sanctioned judges, so judges from like KCBS, SCA, like the EAT and whatnot. So that's their first change that were made. We're making the judges from culinary students to, some average Joes, who eat barbecue on the weekends and whatnot, who really don't have any experience except for, and there's, obviously there's a lot of issues, obviously, within KCBS and other sanctioning, bodies with a lot of issues with the judging already. And I think, to me personally, it's a very one-dimensional in the world of barbecue. So I personally, my personal opinion, I think culinary students have a better palate than a barbecue judge would.
And maybe that their mouth is open to more flavors, where if we're going to pigeonhole competition folks, they're looking typically for one kind of a profile, and if it's outside of the box, that's when they start scoring down, and the students might be a little bit more open to stuff that's outside of the traditional box.
Correct. That's how I look at it too, because obviously a culinary student, they're not just one. They have to learn a little bit of everything when they're in class and different flavor profiles. And I think that's great when you start going with your if you do an exotic type barbecue sauce, or if you have fruits in your barbecue sauce, or even if your rubs or anything. I totally I personally think and a few others think it's better to have someone who's not, I guess, who's not biased. I think, personally, I think a lot of competition judges are kind of biased and, like we said, one-dimensional.
We got the judging thing that's changing, and then was there something as far as how many awards you could win? Was there a cap?
Yeah, there's like a cap, I guess. So I guess you cannot. So last year there was a couple of us, small town, small guys, won multiple awards for the same product. So for example, I have a chicken and pork rub, and I entered my chicken and pork rub in the chicken category, the pork category, and also the seafood category.
Sure.
Well, I just happened to place my chicken and pork happened to win in every single category. So who knows? Maybe there's only 3 people who entered. I don't know, but I was able to place in all of them. And then same thing with barbecue sauce. So like last year, my spicy barbecue sauce won spicy, but maybe this year it wasn't spicy enough, so it went over to like the mild barbecue sauce. Well, my original and my spicy barbecue sauce both took an award for mild barbecue sauce. Huh. So this year, and there was there's a lady who has a great company out of Indiana. She won first place and third place for both of her barbecue sauces. So she won multiple first places and multiple third places.
Yeah.
So this year you could only win, one product could only win, and you could only win in one category. So I don't know if that makes sense. So it's it's like one entry per category and only one category per entry. So you only have, so my chicken and pork, I got to either choose chicken or pork or seafood. Once it wins, I'm done. There's no more else for me to do with that product.
Wow. So they're, in essence, it's like, saying that your uncapped commissions, if you're a sales guy, are actually going to get capped.
Yeah,
wow.
Exactly.
And then, look, you're ponying up money for entry fee to get in there. You want to be considered for as many things as you can. And if your stuff is deemed to be good enough, then there should not be a limit on how much. There shouldn't be a limit on winning, right? I mean, if your stuff is good and you can win everything across the board, then you should be winning everything across the board. Not only because it's good enough, and if it's judged that way, you should be able to receive those accolades. But look, from a marketing standpoint, you can quickly turn around when you get back home and say, hey, we just owned NBBQA, our rubs and sausage, cleaned up everything. And you can hit up WGN 720 and get on with Dane and talk about that. And you can also talk with, whoever else, or on social media and the newspapers. Yeah. That's a lot of publicity now that you could potentially get cut out of for no good reason.
Yeah, exactly. So, after I came back from, Kansas City, exactly, I got written up in the newspapers. I was on the news. I got on your show for the first time. I was in other.
That was the best thing that happened, by the way. Go ahead.
Number one.
That's right. Number one.
And then, then even I was able to even get into another podcast in Australia. So now I reached a whole nother country that never even heard about me. All of a sudden now I'm in Australia's podcast, and I'm, people there. And then obviously that you get some sales off of that. So it's kind of nice getting it's free marketing, and it's great for someone who's low budget and small, your small town, mom and pop type barbecue company.
So is that going to stymie your attendance in Louisville this year, or will you go, but maybe get a room at the Five and Dime and just hang out at the hotel for a couple of beers and save some cash?
Yeah, I'm honestly not 100% sure. I want to go to Louisville. I've been on Team Pit Barrel since I started barbecuing. It was my first smoker, and obviously that's their corporate office. So. I would love to go to Louisville. It's only 4 or 5 hours from Chicago, so it's a quick drive, and so I'm gonna play it by ear. I'm not gonna enter any of my products into the competition this year.
Wow.
Just I mean, it's not gonna break them. Obviously, it's not a big deal. It's just something.
Look, I think it is. I mean, if you're coming on the show to say that you're not going to do it and you don't like the fact that they're putting a limit, by the way, I totally agree with you, then I think there has to be other folks that are going to be of a similar mindset, and this could be a year where their traditional fund expectance on awards of excellence could take a dip. The NBBQA, by the way, is in no position to take any shorts. I mean, it's been around for a long time, but it kind of flounders. It doesn't have an excessive amount of membership ability to it. Nobody seems to be flocking to it. There seems to be some kind of a quickly fading mystique of how great it is. I mean, there's a lot of staunch barbecue legends that are kind of around it, but I have no idea what that leadership is up to. And for as long as it's been around, I mean, for crying out loud, the Pitmasters Club at AmazingRibs.com has way more paying members, and they've only been around for 4 or 5 years. So, I mean, I wouldn't take your non-entry into the Awards of Excellence lightly and thinking that other people aren't going to have the same mindset. And in the end, we'll see here in like 2 months what the deal is. And maybe I will show up there too, and I'll get some insider insight, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, maybe. So I mean, they did say they went out and because I questioned them just to see, a couple of us had questioned them and to see kind of like what their thoughts are or what their, where they came, and they came back to us and said they did a survey and they had 100 or more than 100 people come back and said that they wanted these rule changes done. So, who knows? Maybe who knows?
Hey, Steve, like I said, guess what? Everybody gets an award now, buddy. Everybody gets an award. Limit winning, everybody gets a participation award, okay?
That's the problem. That's what I've been seeing and everything. Everyone cries, why you have top 15 called at a barbecue competition.
Well, we'll see how it goes here. In the meantime, please head over to Steve's website, VeteransQ. That's the letter Q, veteransq.com. And we may or may not see him as we're playing it by ear in Louisville for the 2020 NBBQA conference. Likewise, you may or may not see me, but I do like the Glanvilles a lot, and they have offered me free stays and rides on horses in their majestic palace. So we'll see how that goes. Nice. Oh, man, it's totally nice. You know it is. Steve, always appreciate the time, my friend. Sorry you missed your flight here, but safe travels when you get there tomorrow.
All right, talk to you later.
You got it. There he is, Steve Lulofs from VeteransQ. And he's a little disappointed with how NBBQA is now firming up their awards of excellence criteria, and that you need, if you can't win more than once in the category, right? He said he won in chicken, he won in pork with his chicken and pork. So now you would be basically saying entering only chicken or only pork. You can't win both. I'm sorry, it's really good. You can't win everything. You can't win everything in life. Steve, let me teach you a lesson. You can't win everything in life, okay? Sometimes you got to let other people win.